I'm 29, female. I moved abroad about 6 years ago after I got this really solid job offer. Way more than I could have ever hoped to earn back home. I did not have much when I first moved, just a suitcase, some savings, and a whole lot of nerves. But I worked extremely hard to even get to that point. Extra classes, unpaid internships, learning a new language, networking, applying over and over. I earned that opportunity. My mom was not thrilled when I told her I was leaving. She cried. She said I was leaving her behind for money. At the time, I brushed it off. I figured she was just emotional, maybe scared of the distance. I promised to keep in touch and help out however I could, and I kept that promise. Hell, I went above and beyond. But let me backtrack a bit so that you can get the full picture. My mom and dad divorced right after my birth. She remarried when I was around 1, and my stepsister Nia came into the picture. She was younger than me by about 3 years. We weren't exactly close growing up. Just two different people with different vibes. I was more independent, focused on school, kept to myself. Nia was loud, bubbly, always in everyone's business. Somehow, though, she became the golden child. Even when we were teenagers, it was always about Nia, her events, her breakdowns, her relationships. If I ever tried to speak up about feeling left out or invisible, my mom would brush it off with, "She's younger, she needs more attention," or worse, "You're just being dramatic." So yeah, I learned to just keep my head down and keep moving. When I got the job abroad, it felt like finally breaking free. I thought, cool, maybe now I'll get to be seen as someone who made it. Maybe they'll be proud, and yeah, for like 2 minutes they were. But that faded quick. I started sending money back pretty early on. Not because I was asked to, but because I knew things were tight at home. My mom was not working and her second husband dipped a while back, leaving her and Nia kind of stranded. So I helped with rent, bills, groceries. I even helped cover Nia's college tuition when she couldn't afford it. Birthday gifts, hospital bills, all of it. Never once held it over their heads. But even with all that, my mom would make these little snide comments whenever we talked. Stuff like, "Well, you were never much for staying close anyway," or "You would not get it. You live in your fancy apartment now," or the classic, "Money isn't everything, you know." Every time I visited home, it felt more like I was intruding. My room? Gone. Nia had taken it over. All my childhood stuff packed in boxes. My pictures weren't even on the walls anymore. I brought gifts. I tried to bond, but I was just treated like some distant relative crashing for the weekend. Nia, on the other hand, could do no wrong. If I ever spoke up about how weird it felt, my mom would just say, "Well, Nia's always been here. She stayed, you left." As if helping them survive from thousands of miles away did not count for anything. Anyway, I slowly stopped getting emotionally involved. I still sent money, still did my duty, but I stopped expecting anything in return. It was like I was their bank account, not their daughter. Fast forward to about 6 months ago, Nia starts reaching out to me more. At first, I thought it was weird. We were never that close, but suddenly she's texting me regularly, telling me how miserable she is, how there are no jobs back home, and how she feels stuck. She even hinted that she wished she could just leave and start over. And I got to admit, this light bulb went off in my head like, okay, let's test this loyalty my mom keeps throwing in my face. So I casually tell Nia about a junior opening at my company. It was an entry-level admin job, nothing glamorous, but it paid decent and I could help her with the visa stuff. I did not expect her to say yes so fast, but she jumped on it immediately, did not even pause. I half expected her to say she needed to think about it, or at least that she wanted to talk to Mom first. Nope. Resume sent the next day. She was basically packed before I even got her interview scheduled. I got her set up, helped her with her paperwork, and she flew out within 2 months. I even let her crash at my place for the first few weeks. We weren't besties or anything, but she was polite, grateful, and trying to adjust, so I did not mind. Now here's where the chaos starts. At first, my mom thought Nia was just visiting. She was all excited, asking for pictures and videos. Then she realized Nia was planning to stay. Cue the meltdown. I started getting long, guilt-ridden texts, stuff like, "You took her away from me. Why would you do this? You have always been jealous of our bond. Now I'm alone and abandoned." It would have been funny if it was not so pathetic. Like, really? You spent years calling me a traitor for leaving, and now that your favorite child did the same, suddenly it's a tragedy, a conspiracy? Apparently, I set the trap and manipulated Nia into leaving. She even called my aunt crying, saying I had brainwashed her daughter and turned her into a mini-me. Like what? I tried ignoring it at first, but then I lost it a bit and just laid it all out. I sent her a full list of every expense I'd covered over the last few years. All the times I'd bailed her out, paid her bills, paid Nia's tuition, helped with emergencies. I told her flat out, if I really wanted to be petty, I'd have cut you off years ago. Thing is, I did not make Nia leave. I just gave her a chance. She could have said no. She could have stayed loyal, but she did not. She dipped, and fast. Now Nia's doing fine. She got promoted to a better role last week. She's taking night classes. She's making new friends. She barely talks to Mom anymore because, surprise, she's realizing how manipulative and emotionally draining she can be. Meanwhile, Mom is playing the victim to anyone who'll listen. She's telling extended family I stole her kids and left her to rot. A couple of my relatives tried to guilt trip me, saying, family is everything. But I just blocked them. I'm done being everyone's scapegoat. I've stopped sending money too. Not out of spite, but just, I'm done. I helped enough. I gave enough. If she wants to rely on someone, she can call the daughter she always said was the real one. I honestly do not even feel bad. For years I was made to feel like the villain for trying to better my life. I was called selfish for chasing success, even though that success is what kept them from drowning. And now, when her golden girl made the exact same choice, it's suddenly evil manipulation? Nah, that's on her. She raised both of us. If her daughter jumped ship the second a door opened, that says something. Maybe not about me, but definitely about the way she treats people. And here's the part I am wrestling with. I did offer Nia that job, knowing it might cause drama. I did kind of want to prove a point, so yeah, maybe a tiny part of me wanted to watch it all unravel. But does that make me the bad guy? I did not force anything, I didn't lie, I just gave her the same choice I had. She made her own decision. If Mom doesn't like it, maybe she needs to take a long, hard look at why both her daughters ran the moment they could. So yeah, AITA for offering my stepsister a job abroad and basically making my mom feel abandoned after years of her calling me selfish for leaving. Update 1. Things have gotten even messier on my end, and I'm kind of living for the chaos at this point. So after I cut off the financial pipeline to my mom and ignored the flying monkeys from the extended family, she switched tactics. Instead of playing the abandoned crying mother routine, she started getting passive aggressive again, but now publicly. And by that, I mean she's posting cryptic crap on Facebook and WhatsApp statuses. And by that, I mean she's posting cryptic crap on Facebook and WhatsApp. Things like, some people trade love for luxury, but karma never misses. When you raise a snake in your home, do not be surprised when it slithers away. I wish I was kidding. She even used a baby photo of me for one of these dramatic posts captioned, "Before the world got to her." I didn't respond, just screenshotted everything and kept receipts. Meanwhile, Nia's been doing well here, thriving actually. She's got a cute little apartment now, landed a part-time gig tutoring kids on the side, and even bought herself her first non-thrifted purse with her own money. A big moment, honestly. She's working hard, keeping her head down, and genuinely seems grateful for this new chapter. But guess who was not happy to hear that? Yep, Mom. She called me last week, first time since the "you stole my daughter" meltdown, and started the conversation with, "You have changed her. She's not my Nia anymore." Apparently Nia called her recently and told her she's planning to stay abroad for the long haul. Said she wants to apply for permanent residency eventually and maybe even do her master's. She even mentioned she's considering going low contact because of how draining things have been. That's when Mom lost it. She accused me of poisoning her baby, said I have twisted her with my money and my cold ways. Said I have taught Nia to be heartless, career-obsessed, ungrateful. And my favorite part, she said I have turned her daughter into another version of me. Like that's an insult, sis. You should be thanking me. Your precious daughter now has health insurance, a savings account, and no longer dates losers who treat her like crap. Anyway, she tried pulling the guilt card again, said Nia never used to be like this, that she used to care about her family, used to listen to her mother, and then she asked me, what kind of person offers their sister a job just to take her away from her home? So I snapped, but politely, coldly, professionally even. I sent her the flight confirmation Nia booked and paid for herself. Told her I did not take anyone anywhere. I gave her options. Nia made her own choice. She's not a child, she's 26. A grown-ass woman with a brain and a passport. I also attached a screenshot of the receipt for the first month's rent Nia paid from her own account, just to shut down the "you bought her loyalty" narrative. After that, silence. I figured that was the end of it, but nope, she went nuclear. Posted an essay-length rant on Facebook tagging me and Nia. She did not name us, but it was so obvious people started texting me like, is your mom okay? She said one of her daughters had been stolen by money and the other had sacrificed her soul chasing foreign dreams. Said her children, plural mind you, were gone and filled with bitterness, arrogance and sin. Sin. Then she messaged Nia and told her she was cutting her off until she comes to her senses. Said she no longer considered her a daughter if she continued living under my influence. Nia read the message and just laughed. Then she blocked her. And honestly, that's when I realized something. This was not about me versus Nia. It was never about who left and who stayed. It was always about control. Mom couldn't stand the fact that we're both finally choosing ourselves over her narrative. That the ungrateful daughter who left and the loyal one who stayed was suddenly on the same side. Our side. Now we're talking about taking a little weekend trip together, just us, no guilt, no manipulation, no emotional blackmail. For the first time ever, it actually feels like I have a real relationship with my sister. Not forced, not weird, just honest. Meanwhile, Mom is now messaging my aunt again, asking her to pray for her lost daughters. She says she believes I put something in Nia's head to make her turn away from her own mother. Apparently I'm now some evil mastermind pulling strings with money and freedom like they're black magic. Honestly, at this point, I'll take it. Beats being the invisible wallet who was never good enough. But yeah, here's where I'm torn. I did know what I was doing when I offered Nia that job. I was not being some innocent big sis looking out for her. I had motives. I wanted to test how loyal she really was to Mom, and deep down I wanted Mom to feel what it was like to be the one left behind. And yeah, it worked. Maybe a little too well. Update 2. Hey again. So I was not planning on updating, but something insane happened this week, and I honestly don't know whether to laugh, cry, or move to another continent again. Things have been pretty quiet since the last time I posted. Nia and I were doing well. We'd started settling into this weird but kind of nice sibling rhythm. She's working full time, doing classes in the evenings, even signed up for a gym. We're not best friends or anything, but for once, there's mutual respect. We give each other space, but we have also got each other's backs. And, more importantly, we both understand now how toxic things were at home. My mom, on the other hand, was not doing so well. Or at least that's what I heard through the grapevine. She's been going on pity tours to relatives and mutual family friends, crying about her 2 selfish daughters and how this generation doesn't care about family, the usual melodrama. I ignored it. I thought we were past all that, and I figured, hey, we're across the world from her now. She'll just burn out on her own. Until this week, when she showed up at my apartment. No warning, no message, no call, just a knock at the door in the morning while I was getting ready for work. I opened it, groggy and confused, and boom, there she was. Luggage in hand, sunglasses still on, acting like she was on a damn pilgrimage. I literally thought I was dreaming. I just stood there blinking until she said she was there for Nia. My brain short-circuited like, how? How did she get a visa? How did she get my address? Turns out she guilt-tripped a cousin who works in immigration to help her with a short-term visitor visa. And as for my address, I made the mistake of sending her a postcard 2 years ago from this building. Guess she kept it. I stepped aside, not because I wanted to, but because I did not feel like having a public meltdown in the hallway. And Nia came out of her room in my apartment not 5 seconds later. Her face dropped when she saw our mom. She did not say anything at first, just crossed her arms and stared. Then came the lecture, the full-on performative, "You have changed, you've turned cold, I do not recognize you anymore, I came to save you" speech. She turned to me mid-rant and called me a snake, a literal snake. She said I was corrupting her daughter's soul and feeding her lies to make her hate her own mother. I tried to stay quiet. I really did. I wanted to let Nia speak for herself this time, and she did. She told Mom that she was not brainwashed, that she had simply outgrown the chaos, that this was not some evil plan. She had just found peace and didn't want to go back to constantly being guilted for choosing happiness. She told her that for the first time in her life, she was building something on her own, that she was proud of herself, that she did not need someone showing up halfway across the world to rescue her from a life she actually liked. It was quiet after that. For the first time ever, Mom did not have a comeback. She just stood there blinking like her brain glitched. She tried crying again, tried hugging Nia, telling her she did not mean to hurt her, but Nia didn't budge. She asked her to please leave and said she did not feel comfortable with her staying here. So yeah, I had to book her a hotel for the night and put her in a cab, and before she left, she looked at me one last time and said, "I hope you're happy now. You turned my daughter against me just like you turned your back on me." And for once, I did not feel the need to explain myself. I just said, "She made her own choice." I closed the door. She flew back home the next day. Since then, she hasn't called. No messages, no dramatic posts, just radio silence, and it's honestly peaceful. There's no tension in the apartment, no walking on eggshells, just 2 women trying to do better than the generation before them. I don't know if she'll come around someday. I'm not waiting on it, but I do know this. For the first time in my life, I'm not questioning whether I was the problem. I'm not begging for approval. I'm not fighting to prove I care. I did care and I got burned for it. Now I'm just choosing peace. But I'll admit this whole mess started because I made a move knowing exactly what it would trigger. I did poke the bear. I did want her to feel what it was like to be left behind. So as much as I stand by everything, I keep thinking, was I really just helping Nia find freedom? Or was I settling a score with our mom using her as the proof? Update 3. So, yeah, things did not end when she got on that plane. For a brief moment, it looked like she might finally back off. After Nia told her to leave and I booked her into a hotel, she flew home without any more theatrics. No tears at the airport, no drama at my door, just silence. And it was honestly eerie. We figured maybe she'd finally processed the fact that she couldn't control either of us anymore. But that silence, it did not mean peace. It meant she was plotting a different kind of chaos. The kind that spreads without warning. Turns out, the second she landed, she started spinning a fresh narrative. A new twisted story that's been circulating among every aunt, uncle, second cousin, and old neighbor she could get a hold of. She's telling people I destroyed Nia's values, that I dragged her into a godless Western lifestyle, where she's completely lost her sense of morality. Apparently, me offering my own sister a job now equals seducing her away from the righteous path. According to her, Nia has changed beyond recognition and is now living in sin and shame. Yep, that's what we're dealing with. She's leaning hard into the conservative panic card, painting Nia as some poor lost lamb who was once obedient and traditional but is now wearing revealing clothes, drinking, partying, and rejecting her culture. Never mind the fact that Nia works late nights at her office, comes home exhausted, eats leftovers, and watches Netflix until she crashes. But the worst part, she's telling people Nia is cohabiting with a man, as in me. She's implying that Nia's living with some mysterious boyfriend out here, sharing a bed and being kept in exchange for luxury, when in reality she's living in a one-bedroom apartment 2 blocks away from mine, working overtime and heating up frozen pizzas like the rest of us. It's beyond insulting. It's dangerous. We come from a smallish community where reputations stick, especially when it comes to women. What she's saying about Nia could ruin her standing with people we grew up with, people she might someday need letters of reference from, or professional connections, or even just peace from. Nia found out through one of her old school friends who still lives back home. She was shocked, but not surprised, and for the first time since all of this started, I saw that flicker of heartbreak in her eyes, like she expected disappointment, but she did not expect character assassination. She asked me if I thought she should confront our mom. I told her no, not yet, because honestly, our mom wants the reaction. She thrives on confrontation. She wants the explosive call, the dramatic text, the emotional voice message she can play on loop for sympathy points. So we agreed. No reaction. Just keep building. Let her rant to people who do not actually matter anymore. But behind the scenes, I have started doing a little damage control. I have been privately messaging a few key people, older cousins, one of our uncles, even one of Mom's old friends who used to adore Nia. Just giving them the real picture, no drama, no mudslinging, just facts. Nia's working hard, living alone, studying, trying to build a real future. Not exactly the scandalous wild child our mom is describing. The responses have been mixed. Some are shocked and some are neutral, and a couple have already said, "This doesn't sound like Nia at all." So the cracks in her little horror story are already showing. But it doesn't stop there. I found out she's now planning some religious ceremony back home, like a cleansing or blessing ritual, supposedly to bring Nia back to her pure self. She's inviting extended family, neighbors, and making it a whole event, basically turning Nia's choice to live abroad into a spiritual crisis that only a public show of faith can fix. We haven't told Nia yet. Honestly, I don't know if I want to. She's doing so well lately. Got her first bonus, finally treated herself to a new phone, even made her first real friend at work. I hate the idea of this mess dragging her back emotionally, but still, this isn't over, not by a long shot. Our mom's not letting go quietly. She doesn't know how to lose without rewriting the entire story in her favor, and now she's rewriting us, who we are, what we stand for, how we live. All because we finally chose something different. And I'll admit it, I'm starting to realize that maybe this was not just about proving a point. Maybe I underestimated just how deep her obsession with control runs. This isn't just about disappointment or pride or family guilt. It's about her needing to win, even if it means burning us down in the process. Update 4. So this is it, the final update. I did not think I'd be writing this so soon, but something happened that made me realize there's nothing left to wait for, hope for, or fight for. We have reached the end of this long, twisted mess, and strangely, I feel okay. After my last post, where I talked about my mom's latest stunt spreading lies about Nia, organizing some dramatic cleansing ritual back home, telling everyone we were living in sin and had lost our morals, it all just escalated, quietly but sharply. See, at first we were ignoring it, blocking gossip, muting relatives, focusing on work, surviving our day-to-day lives. We had no energy left for drama, and honestly, it felt like we were slowly reclaiming our peace. But then the calls started, not from her. She knew better, but from people she'd weaponized. Old family friends, some distant uncle, even our childhood tutor of all people. People who hadn't said a word in years were suddenly calling to check in and casually mention things like, "You know your mom isn't doing well, right?" Or, "She's heartbroken. She doesn't even eat properly anymore." Subtle manipulation dressed up as concern. Classic. I even got an email from an old neighbor I barely knew, telling me how my mom had always been proud of me and how heartbreaking it must be to feel abandoned by both daughters. Said I should consider going home for just a visit to make things right. It was clear what was happening. My mom was not just painting herself as the victim. She was building a case, laying the groundwork for one last move. Emotional blackmail. Sure enough, a week later, the big one hit. A carefully crafted message written like a farewell letter, sent to both me and Nia. No apologies, no accountability, just an emotional monologue full of guilt-laced lines like, "I tried my best," and "I guess I was never enough for either of you," and "all I wanted was a family that stayed together." She talked about feeling sick, old and tired. She said she did not know how long she had left. She said all she ever did was love us, and that watching us turn into strangers was the worst pain she'd ever felt. She ended it with, "Maybe you'll understand when you're mothers yourselves, if that day ever comes." I'll admit it, reading it made my stomach drop. For a few minutes I almost forgot everything she'd done. I almost let myself spiral into that familiar guilt, the one she raised us on. The guilt of being too far, too late, too cold. But then Nia came into the room, phone in hand, same message pulled up, and I watched her read it in silence. No tears, just stillness. When she finished, she looked up at me and said she did not want to respond. She said if she replied now, it would be from a place of obligation, not care, and that anything she said would be used against her the next time Mom needed to play the martyr. And just like that, the weight in my chest lifted because she got it, fully, clearly, without me having to explain. We didn't reply, not to the message, not to the cause, not to the guilt campaign. We just carried on. Nia went back to work. She's doing amazing, by the way. She got offered a permanent position at her company with better pay and health benefits. She's moved into a slightly bigger flat with a balcony and has started decorating it with little things that make it hers. Plants, candles, a second-hand bookshelf she painted herself. She even signed up for a local art class on weekends. She says it makes her feel 10 again, in the best way. As for me, I'm not the same person I was when this all began. I used to think I had to earn love. Through money, sacrifice, silence. I kept giving and giving, hoping for warmth that never came, but now I do not feel that ache anymore. I don't feel like I owe anyone anything. The day I saw Nia stand up to our mother without breaking, I realized the cycle was ending with us. We did not run away. We grew out of the environment that raised us, and we refused to shrink ourselves to fit back into it. We still talk about her sometimes, our mom, mostly in passing, like, this is so something she'd hate, or can you imagine telling her about this? And it always ends in a laugh or an eye roll. The sting is gone. What's left is just the absurdity. She's still spinning stories back home. We have heard bits of it. Some wild version of events where I turned Nia against her using money and influence and convinced her to reject her culture, her identity, and her values. Apparently, I am living proof of what happens when daughters become too independent. If only she knew how proud that sentence makes me. I don't know if she'll ever change. I doubt it. People like her do not like truth. They like control. And when they lose it, they rewrite the narrative until they're the victim again. But we're done being characters in her story. We're writing our own now, one that doesn't include emotional blackmail, false loyalty, or guilt passed off as love. We're just living quietly, peacefully, honestly. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.